Okay, we are live. I'm just going to delete this other stream that I thought I was going to start. How do you delete this? Stream settings. Cancel. Go back. That guy's live. Let's delete. Boom, there we go, deleted. Yes, I understand, delete. So what's up, everyone? My name is Aaron, and this is my attempt to start a freelancing career pretty much on camera. I've been kind of starting this process for about a month now, and it's fairly lonely, to be honest, just because I don't really know what I'm doing or where I'm going. And honestly, my biggest guide right now is a book. If anyone else is starting their own freelancing career, I would highly recommend picking up a copy of The Freelancer's Bible by Sarah Horowitz. But anyway, today I'm trying to make my way through a course on lynda.com. I'll put the link in the chat. It's called Building Child Themes on WordPress. And I got to a challenge that I'm really having trouble with. So I'm going to make some coffee and I'm going to get started. And if anyone else pops in, I'm not expecting anyone to actually show up to this, but you know, if they do, they can follow along with me and we can figure this out together. So yeah, I'm just gonna bring that up. I'm gonna make some coffee first because I'm definitely gonna need it to get through this. All right, so coffee. Coffee, coffee. Coffee. Got Pop-Tarts too. Gotta stay you gotta eat, right? You need some fuel. So yeah, I'm gonna set these up somewhere. Some kind of like weird voyeuristic obsession that I'm trying to, like, I don't know, encourage. I feel like I'm an enabler of the voyeur, you know? But honestly, it feels kind of good to be ABR, as one of my podcaster heroes, John Syracuse, would say. ABR, always be recording. I'm sure there's a bigger culture of gaming in which that is the case. So, all right, we'll set these up. I'm running out of room here. Boom, ba-boom. All right, coffee. Mango juice. Love this mango nectar. So good. Really, really sweet, but oh, so delicious. Let's see. About 4 servings per container. That's not bad. 150 calories. Yeah, easy. Put that in the fridge. Here it is. Folgers, 100% Colombian, medium dark. Mmm, this stuff is great. Really great. Oh no. Spilled some coffee. Spilled some coffee. Clean that up right away. Add some water. Preheat that bad boy. All right. Now that I got the coffee going, time to settle in here. So I am on chapter 6, adding new functionality. So let's make sure our local environment's up and running. I'm using MAMP. The course, if you're following along with their environment choices, they are using local by Flywheel, which I think is just as good. And I haven't been using MAMP, so we gotta let MAMP get going. There we go. And we'll make sure that MAMP is good. MAMP website, let's see what we got. No, that's not what I want. I want my website. Good. So we got the theme unit test here. That's fine. Let's log into it. /admin to log in. And I believe that's just admin password. Tried to keep it dead simple, stupid, easy. Great. Let's see what I got for appearance themes. Yep, so I got the child theme, Popper child theme. That's good. I think that's probably good. I don't know, let's make another. We'll just do it the way they want me to do it. Activate the 2019 theme. And I will go in and make a child theme at the document root. So we go to MAMP. and htdocs, and content, themes, and we'll make a new folder, 2019 child, and we'll use that. Go to Atom. I'm going to use Atom as the code editor today. Put that window right down here. In a future one of these, I want to figure out how I can get my screen to show up in YouTube Live. I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'm just going to let you focus on my beautiful face, and that will be it. But I can kind of talk about what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So, okay, so I'm just going to copy that into, I'm going to make a new project folder root. That's going to be based on applications, MAMP, and then htdocs, and then content, and then themes. And let's get rid of that. Remove project folder. So 2019 child. I'm going to add a file. New file. It's going to be style.css. And we're going to make another new file called functions.php. And we're going to add another project folder. From the desktop, we have the exercise files. No, that must be in downloads. For building child themes. Exercise, chapter 6, 2, start, themes. Let's just go chapter 6. Well, let's go exercise files. Boom. 6, start, themes. All right, so let's start watching this video, because I feel like I'm in a pretty good spot once I save this, reload, activate, take a look, and then we want to enqueue. So we go to style, functions. There we go. Add that to functions. Paste, save, reload, and we got that. And then if we add, let's see, background, sorry, body, background color, pink, and you reload. Perfect. We're up and running. All right, we'll get rid of that, and we'll start the video from Linda.
CSS and PHP code to our functions file, as well as customizing templates. These are tools that you need to make your own child theme. Now I want to show you how to add some pretty common functionality to your theme. And one of the most common things you can do is add, edit, or remove a menu. I want to add a menu to our child theme. But before we do that, I should show you where to find existing menus in the theme. We can see one menu on the front end. And we can go into our admin,
menus,
and then appearance, and menus to customize it.
Menus.
Or we can go into the customizer, and go into menus. So we can see our main menu right here. Let's click into that. And here we can see all of the items on that main menu. So if we wanted to add something extra, let's add a specific blog post, say pumpkin pie, we can do that. We can, of course, reorder these. And we can also make sub-items. We can also assign this menu to different locations. So if we still had the footer, we could put it in the footer menu. Or this special social links menu, which adds icons for different social media networks. But for us right now, I'm happy with it just being primary, so I'll turn off footer menu. When we're done with that, we can click publish and our menus are ready to go. Now that we have our default menus, let's create a new menu for our child theme. Setting up core functionality in WordPress, like custom menus and sidebars, is done in the functions.php file, and is usually pretty simple because these are core items that every single theme will have. So just like before, we're going to start this process by figuring out how the original menu was added to the theme. So we'll go to my code editor, and I'll open up the parents functions.php file. And I'll do a quick search for a minute.
Okay, so I'm in the 2019 functions.php. Boom. And you're going to search for menu. Search for menu.
And there it is. This is the code that this theme uses to add a new menu. We can use similar code in our child theme's functions.php file to start creating a new menu. Now that we found the functionality in our parent theme, let's copy out these lines of code and then paste them into our child theme's functions.php file.
Okay, so we have to copy what's here.
So I'll copy this whole register nav menu section.
The whole register nav copy. And paste that into the child function PHP. Save that.
I'll open up our child theme. Open up functions.php. Let's scroll down to the bottom. Let's put it in remove parent functionality. We'll rename in a moment. Paste this in. And I'm choosing this function because it's firing at the right time, after theme setup. Let's go ahead.
Oh, so we need it in there. So let's go to the exercise files, the end. Well, let's go to start. Functions.php. Use all those. Copy. 2019 functions. Paste. Save. Make sure I didn't break anything. Good. And I'll go into the parent theme functions menu. Copy that. We're going to put that in the child theme inside okay, so that's the end goal. So put it there. Put it there. Perfect. I'm going to grab a spot of coffee because I'm thirsty and I'd like some coffee. And it's great that this is forever. Like, you think about the fact that the video I'm recording is memorialized on the internet for the rest of time, right? There's like almost nothing I can do to truly take this back, even though this is like a self-fulfilling thing. That's the wrong word. The only person that cares about this right now is me. Maybe someday someone will see this. And let me tell that one person this. If you've got a dream, go for it, man. Because that's what I got and that's what I'm doing. And for better or worse, I feel like Henry David Thoreau. I feel like I'm following my own destiny here, right? And no one can take that away from me. So, there's something you want to do. If you got a dream, you fucking go for that dream. Sorry if you're, that's a little mature language. I apologize. But fucking go for it. All right. Oh, that's delicious. So good. Okay, where were we?
We change the parameters of this menu. We only want to add one new thing. We don't want to add a primary menu, a footer menu, and a social links menu. So let's delete these.
I should really.
And we already have
really
a primary
PHP.
menu, so let's call this secondary. And we need to have a unique identifier. So let's call it menu dash. Let's change this comment.
Add a secondary menu to the child theme.
And now let's go ahead.
Add a secondary menu. So that's what we're doing. Add a secondary menu to the child theme. And we're still calling it register nav menus. Array is menu-2. Secondary 2019. All right.
And change this function. Because we're no longer just removing functionality, we're completely modifying it.
So we're calling the function 2019 child theme setup.
And when we change the function name, we need to make sure that we're calling the new function. So remove parent functionality no longer exists. Let's paste the new name in there.
Yep.
Save this and reload the page. Of course, nothing happens. However, if I go to menus,
save,
and view our locations, we can now see there's a new secondary menu.
So if we go to customize.
If I add a menu to secondary, let's go ahead and set our
menu
to secondary and click publish. WordPress knows there's a menu, but the theme doesn't know where to display
secondary, primary.
The next step is to figure out where to place that menu.
Great.
Let's go back to our code editor.
Okay, so we have that menu.
Template parts.
2019.
Header, and then site break. And here.
All right, slow down. 2019 template parts. Template parts. Okay. Header. Site branding. Found that file. What do you want to do with this?
We can see how we display that menu. So we can see if there is a menu in menu 1, then print all of this information.
If there's a menu in menu 1, do that. So there's some conditional stuff going on. Yep, same spot, line 33. Good. Good, good, good.
We can use this code and just augment it slightly to output our new menu. But first we need a file to place this in. And actually, we want to place our new menu right beneath the existing menu. And we happen to be in a template file. So let's copy this exact template file over to our theme and then modify it.
So we got to copy that
branding.
whole thing.
I'll go to our theme, template parts, on a new folder called header. And I'll paste it in there. So here's our new site branding. I'll close the old one. And now we just need to make some small changes.
Template parts.
So let's go ahead and copy this entire section right here. So all the way from if to end if. I'll paste it in. So right now we're double printing menu 1. Let's go ahead and change menu 1 to menu 2.
Branding.php.
Let's remove this ID equals
All right,
navigation.
slow down. Slow down, Super
Go
Chief.
ahead and copy this entire section right here.
Site branding.php. Boop. Save. And we're gonna delete that.
So all the way from if to end if. I'll paste it in.
Oh, copy it. Copy, paste. So now if we have menu 2, we're going to do something.
So right now we're double printing menu 1. Let's go ahead and change menu 1 to menu 2, which is the menu we just added. Let's remove this ID equals site navigation, since each HTML element should have a unique ID, so we'll just delete that. And then I want to do some quick CSS experimentation. So I'm actually going to write, at the end of this nav HTML element, style equals font-size 0.7n. So I basically want to say, print the menu, but just make it a little bit smaller. Let's go back to our front end. We'll exit the customizer. Let's refresh the page, and here it is. We now have a secondary menu right beneath the primary menu, and it's a slightly smaller font size. Of course, now would be a great time to actually make this menu unique. Let's go ahead and do that super quick. Customize, menus. Let's add a new menu. We'll call it secondary.
Oh, let's just get it to show up, because I don't have that. Woo! Excuse me. View location secondary. Let's do that. All pages. Hey, there it is. Boom. All right. All pages flat, empty menu short, social testing. View location secondary. Show up on all pages flat. What's that? Do that. So let's make a new menu. Menu, create new menu. Is going to be secondary menu. And we'll put it in secondary. And add items. Do home. Page A, page B. More Ripsim. Publish. Great. View locations, secondary. Yeah, secondary menu. Why does it still have those other ones? Secondary menu. Well, anyway, let's see what they say.
And we'll add it to secondary. And the secondary menu should just have contact and about. We'll go to our primary menu and remove those. And we'll also remove this recipe while we're at it.
All right, so let's figure this out. So we want the top menu to have, first of all, let's get that out of there. And let's get the secondary out of there. So now we got nothing. All right, good. Now the primary location, let's make it the short menu. A blog page about the test on Ipsen. Good. And secondary, let's make that the secondary menu. And let's edit it. So we got home, page A, page B, Lorem Ipsum. Let's get rid of Lorem Ipsum. Let's get rid of page B. Let's get rid of page A. Let's get rid of home. Let's add some items. Let's add this as a new page. Publish. Why does this mirror what's there? What am I missing? Last main navigation, top menu.
To make some small changes. Copy site branding. I'll go to our theme, template parts. I'll add a new folder called header. And I'll paste it in header. So here's our new site branding. I'll close the old one. And now we just need to make some small changes. Let's go ahead and copy this entire section right here. So all the way from if to end if. I'll paste it in. So right now we're double printing menu 1. Let's go ahead and change menu 1 to menu 2, which is the menu we just added. Let's remove this ID equals site navigation, since each HTML element should have a unique ID. So we'll just delete that. And then I want to do some quick CSS experimentation. So I'm actually going to write at the end of this nav HTML element, style equals font-size 0.7n. So I basically want to say, print the menu, but just make it a little bit smaller. Let's go back to our front end. We'll exit the customizer. Let's refresh the page, and here it is. We now have a secondary menu right beneath the primary menu, and it's a slightly smaller font size. Of course, now would be a great time to actually make this menu unique. Let's go ahead and do that super quick. Customize, menus. Let's add a new menu.
That's what I needed.
We'll call it secondary.
All right, let's make sure that menus, secondary, add, home, sample, boom, publish. I did it. All right, that's it. That's good.
And we'll add it to secondary.
Finally, we got somewhere. It is the little,
Just have contact and about.
you know it, things.
We'll go to our primary menu and remove those.
This is freelancing. This is freelancing.
And now that we know that everything is working, let's move that temporary CSS into our actual CSS file. Go back to the code editor. I'll open up style.css. We'll scroll all the way to the bottom. We'll go back to site branding and copy out the style. And I'm going to say dot main navigation, which affects both the primary menu and the secondary menu, followed by another dot main navigation. And now this only affects the secondary menu.
Why? Why is that?
Font size.
Dot main navigation plus dot main navigation. Dot main navigation. Look at me not remembering what CSS selectors do. Dot main navigation. Font size. Okay. So let's get rid of the branding style thing. Save, reload. Right. And then if you go to style, and you go to 0.7 PM. Yes, what is that?
4.7. We'll save both of those files, go to the front end, refresh, and there we go. You can spend a lot more time customizing the look of this menu to make it more look like a secondary or less important menu. But with some basic functionality, we copied a menu and added it to our theme.
Okay.
When people ask me how to create great themes, I tell them the most important thing is to be opinionated. Make decisions on behalf of the people that are using the theme, rather than giving them every option under the sun. That's why my themes tend to be a little bit more restrictive in what you can do, but it's also what makes them easy to work with. And one of the places where this idea of being opinionated really comes in is when you work with menus. Because when you create menu areas in your theme, people are likely going to try to cram as many menu items in as possible. And that can create a really bad user experience for the people who visit your site. Let's take a look at our primary menu, which I modified slightly before this video to show you that we can actually only have a few items in it. The theme automatically calculates the width and only shows you a few items. Depending on how long your menu names are, you probably only see 4 to 6. The rest of them you can see by hovering over the dot, dot, dot. And notice this page. If we hover over this, there is a child menu item called Recipe Bucket Pie. And if you go into the customizer, go to menu, the main menu, you can see that it is in fact a child menu item. And for the header, this is great. We want to show all of the pages no matter what. If we assign this exact same menu to the footer, and scroll down, notice that we don't see the recipe pumpkin pie anywhere here. Home, page, blog, phone, events, etc. But we don't see the child menu items. That's because the footer menu has some additional properties to restrict what is displayed. Let's go to our code editor. I'll go ahead and open up footer.php.
All right, wait a minute. We're going to 2019 footer. 2019 footer. I barely know her. Here's the footer. Great.
Hold down. Here's the menu, and notice that there's a parameter called depth of 1. If we go look at the documentation for WP Nav menu, we can see that there are a ton of parameters, including a depth parameter. There's a ton of useful parameters in WP Nav menu, but I want to show you items wrap. This lets us format the HTML for the menu, so we can use this to add a little bit of HTML, including a word right before the menu. So let's go to our code. I'll go back to my template parts, header, site branding. We'll scroll down to our second menu. Here I see items wrap. Right before this UL, let's go ahead and add company info, just make it clear what this menu is. We'll close that paragraph tag. Let's go ahead and save that. Go back to our site.
Did you copy that? I'm going to copy that. Copy. Child theme. This is good. I'm starting to get it. I'm eating a Pop-Tart. Look at me. I'm like rocking and rolling. All right.
Go ahead and add company info, just make it clear what this menu is.
Items wrap. Items. Oh shit. We're working on site branding. My bad. So where's that going to show up?
We'll close that paragraph tag. Let's go ahead and save that. Go back to our site. I'll exit the customizer and refresh. Of course, this is an opinionated decision that I made for my personal child. And you can make any other decision you want.
Okay.
But I just want to show you that with WP Nav Menu, there's a ton of options that we can use to display exactly how the menu works. So now that you know the options exist, go ahead and check out developer.wordpress.org and
footer.
read through the documentation to see how you can customize your menu for your child.
Check out the footer.
Let's write some CSS so the menu
Brother.
and the label for the menu line up correctly.
Brother.
Before I write any code, let me inspect the HTML so I know what CSS selectors that I should use. So I'll right-click on company info.
Where you at?
And here I see div class menu secondary container. Let's go ahead and use that. So I'll copy this. Let's close this. Go to my code editor. And here I can see the existing CSS for the secondary menu.
Style.
Let's go ahead and change this to menu secondary container UL. And we'll make a duplicate one for menu secondary container and the paragraph tag. Right now, both of these are just.
So where did you get that menu secondary container class, huh? Menu secondary. So that's class, right? So we do that. Boom. P. UL. Save that bad boy. Vavoom. Yeah. Great. And let's make that one pink because we love doing that. And make that one deep pink. All right, there we go, making moves.
Shrunk down. Let's go ahead and make sure they line up on the same line. I'll change this to display inline block. And the same thing for the UL. Save both of these, go back to our site, and now they line up on the same line. One more thing, let's add a little bit of space here. So I'll go back to the code, and under the paragraph only, I'll say margin right 10 pixels. There we go.
Only on the paragraph to margin right 10 pixels. Is that what we want? Sure. Not bad, not bad.
Feel free to write as much CSS as you want now that you know the menu is outputting the right.
Feel free to write as much. Yeah, feel free to just do more work. Challenge time.
Earlier in this course, we completely removed the widgetized area. And even though I like the way it looks now that it's removed, it is a bit unusual to remove an entire branch of functionality from a theme.
Right. So how do we remove it? So functions. Recipe title. That's here. Remove widgets init. If we comment that out, save, so we get widgets back. Where dem widgets? Where damn widgets? Where damn widgets? Where damn widgets? Where them widgets? Where them widgets? Come on, with them widgets. We them widgets.
So what I want you to do now is conditionally add a backend, meaning depending upon a condition, display the widgets on the front end. There are two main ways I'd look at solving this challenge: customize a template or write some PHP code. I actually tried both, and I strongly recommend customizing a template since it's the most direct route. You'll also want to look through these conditional tags. These are a great starting place to know how to conditionally show content.
Let's go to the admin here. And let's make sure we have plugins, show current template activated. Good. Why don't I get the admin view? Plugins. Save developer. Update. Why are you not showing? What's up? What gives, yo? I can't get my admin bar to show up right now. So try from Chrome, because sometimes Safari doesn't do what I want. Local host. Yep. /admin. And password. Yes, my local host WordPress install literally has the admin name admin and the password password. And I need to be able to type in password properly. There we go. All right, admin bar. Switch. Where did it? It disappears. WordPress admin bar not showing upload logs. Dashboard users, your profile. Let's try that. Dashboard users, your profile. Show toolbar when viewing site. Let's turn it off. Let's turn it on. And then let's go back. Still not there, okay? Let's try doing a different theme. Theme. 2019, activate. Theme unit, and it's back. What did I do? Show admin bar or show admin bar filter. Functions. Let's go to this one. Functions. Show admin. Let's try that. So let's go back to the other theme that I was using, Flow 19, activate. Visit site. It's not there. So what we'll do is we'll go to functions for the child theme. And what we'll do is add this. So we'll call it show ad, no, do it, retain or view admin bar. There it is. That's a good one. View admin bar. And we'll make it run there. And we're going to return true. And we're going to save. We're going to save it. So we're going to add the filter view admin bar, which is my function, which returns true when and we're hooking it into the show underscore admin underscore bar. And we're going to go to the site and we're going to reload it. Reload it. Shit. What gives? For anybody. Ah, the syntax error, huh? All right, let's try this. 6 and themes, topsy, functions, boom, copy, paste, save, load. The hell? Let's delete that. Reload. Now we're back. Boom. Ugh. Wonder what was in that footer. It's crazy. All right. Anyway, conditional shit. We're back with conditional shit. Here's a challenge.
Earlier in this course, we completely removed the widgetized area. And even though I like the way it looks now that it's removed, it is a bit unusual to remove an entire branch of functionality from a theme. So what I want you to do now is conditionally add it back in, meaning, depending upon a condition, display the widgets on the front end. There are two main ways I'd look at solving this challenge: customize a template or write some PHP code. I actually tried both, and I strongly recommend customizing a template since it's the most direct route. You'll also want to look through these conditional tags. These are a great starting place to know how to conditionally show content.
All right, let's dig into this. So WordPress list of conditional tags. There we go. So if you're following along, random ghosts of my YouTube live feed, the link I'm looking at right now, I am posting in the chat. So conditional tags are a Boolean data type that can be used in your template files to alter the display of content depending on the conditions that the current page matches. They tell WordPress what code to display under specific conditions. Conditional tags usually work with PHP if-else if-else conditional statements and have close relation with WordPress. That's a typo. Template hierarchy. Warning: you can only use conditional query tags after the WP query is set up or with action hook. So, is front page, is home. Is front page, is home. Also redundant. Is admin, is network admin, is admin single, is admin bar showing, is single, is sticky, is post type hierarchical, is post type archive, is comment pop-up, comments open, pings open, is page template, is category, is tag, is tags, has term. All right, so let's make it, is it the home page? Determines whether the query is for the blog's homepage. Blog homepage is the page that shows the time-based blog content of the site. Is home is dependent on the site's front page displays, reading settings, show on front, and page for posts. If a static page is set to front page, this function will return true only on the page you set as the posts page. See also is front page. Okay. So is front page is what I'm going to use. So functions, let's add a function, right?
To do is hide the widgetized area on regular pages and posts. But on pages that show a list of posts, like the blog page, go ahead and display the widgetized area. Good luck!
Oh man, so I need to know more about add filter. And I need to know more about add action. This is exhausting. God. This is where Adderall can help, huh? Actions are the hooks that the WordPress core launches at specific points during, yeah, no shit. Return will always return true. Source. Return add filter. The function add action returns add filter. This sucks. I'm going to use this opportunity to go get myself an avocado. 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 Okay, I'm gonna leave y'all with some music. What's that new app I just got? App date added. These are all updated, huh? Was it plug? I think it was plug. Yeah, nice. BRB. Think Kato thoughts. Think Kato thoughts. Think Kato thoughts. Avocado.
Waking up one day, I say I'm leaving up. Many
Freelance. When I say free, you say yes. Free was a land till I don't know his name, but I'm gonna get love. Before man explodes with all the stress. I'm thinking of all the things I could be doing right now. Gonna think that I'm not profitable. I'm not gonna be profitable. That's impossible. Who's gonna say that I'm gonna do anything with my life? I do. Yeah. I'm gonna be the best freelancer. Freelancer dead. Free to the left, to the free to the left. Avocado. I'm going crazy. I'm insane. Learn WordPress. Gonna get some cooking. Yeah, I'll be right back.
This is it. This is all. We can stand. We can fall. Gotta go for it all. And I dream to stand tall.
What if I never made it? Can't see what's wrong, what's right. Guess I'm older now. Those same old storylines. I thought I knew it all. Came back to hit me hard. Too many tears for that. Too many years of that.
This is it. This is now. We can stand. We can fly. Gotta go for it all. And I choose to stand tall.
I need a challenge. Don't let me have it. I need a challenge. Show me a talent. Give me a challenge. Oh, still got my body. No one on my mind. Had them dreams and it same cold life. When did I get so unimpressed? Maybe I'm meant to be on your chest. So I left my feelings on the floor. Now I can tell you all we more. This game is too predictable. I'ma watch you eat it up. I need a challenge. Don't let me have it. I need a challenge. Show me a talent. Give me a challenge. I me a talent, give me a challenge. Then I had it, I'm dramatic. Tell me what did you expect? I'm the baddest bad habit, yeah, yeah. Regarde mon cœur pour quelqu'un qui n'a pas peur. Je sais pas comme si je pleure tous les soirs, toute seule. I left my feelings on the floor. Now I can tell you one more. This game is so predictable. I'ma watch you eat it up. I need a challenge. Don't let me have it. I need a challenge. Show me a talent. Give me a challenge. I need a challenge. Don't let me have it. I need a challenge. Show me a talent. Give me a challenge. I know, I'm easy to love and hard to please. It's never enough, it's never enough for me. I'ma watch you eat it up.
Did you miss me? All right. Here we go. You're so good.
Waking up one day.
Save that. All right. I don't do this lately, but I'm gonna look at the solution.
I hope you gave this challenge a try, because conditionally hiding content is pretty common in child themes. If we scroll down, you can see that I have my widget area here. And if I go to a single post, you can see there's no widget area. So let me go to the functions.php file, and I'll show you how I did it. The first thing we had to do is we had to disable the line that we added in our original functions file. So that's remove action, widgets, init. So I disabled this. Then I opened up footer widgets in my parent theme, and I copied it to my child theme. There's a line right here, is active sidebar, and it was originally like this, is active sidebar, and I added these two conditionals. If there's an active sidebar and it's not a single post and it's not a page, then print all of this information. That is all that you had to do. One line and it works. We can, however, optimize this code just a little bit more. There is a similar function called is singular, and that encompasses both is single and is page. So this is a little bit cleaner, and it still does the exact same thing. Since customizing the template is so easy, this is probably the route that I'd take. But remember, there is a downside to templates. If the parent theme ever updates their template, we won't get those upstream changes, unless we download the new template and reapply our changes. I tried writing some PHP code since it's a bit more future-proof, but I ran into some problems. So let me show you what my thought process was. On this page, you can see some of the main actions that WordPress runs and the order they run in. So you can see plugins loaded happens before after theme setup. And after theme setup happens before get header. A little ways down, we're going to see posts, you can see problems. So let me show you what my thought process was.
There's an action reference. Maybe that's what I'm missing. WordPress WordPress action reference. Let's give that a shot. What is this? This is a hopefully comprehensive list of action hooks available in WordPress version 2.1 and above. For more information, to learn about what filter and action hooks are, see plugin API. Okay, I'll open that. To learn about writing plugins in general, see writing a plugin. I'll open that. For a reference list of filter hooks, please see plugin API filter reference. So action reference and filter reference, yep. For information about filter and action hooks in previous versions of WordPress, see that. Okay. Actions run during a typical request. These actions are called when a logged in user opens the home page in version 3.3.1. This list may show only the first time each action is called, and in many cases, no function is hooked to the action. Themes and plugins can cause actions to be called multiple times and at different times during a request. As proof of this, you can see action calls specific to the 2011 theme on this list. Cron tasks may also fire when a user visits the site, adding additional action calls. This list should be viewed as a guideline or approximation of WordPress action execution order and not a concrete specification. Actions are called with the function doAction, except those marked ref array, which are called with the function doActionRefArray. MU plugins loaded after multi-use plugins are loaded. Registered taxonomy, registered post type, plugins loaded. Sanitize comment cookies. Set up theme before the theme is loaded. This is an important page. So I'm going to add this as a bookmark to Safari. Put that in WordPress. Yep. Action hook list. So now if I need that page again, I'll just go WordPress action hooks list. Ba-boom. And then the other one is a filter reference. And this article contains an extensive, but not 100% extensive, I like that it says that, list of the filter hooks available for use in plugin development for WordPress 2.1 and above. Okay? It's fine. This is fun. I'm having a good time. Making content. Stupid content, but content. Check it out. It's like the bottom of the avocado. I'm Mr. Avocado. Wah, 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 wah. It's like Pac-Man. Waka, 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 waka. Okay. So, here we go. So filters, less about the order. Database reads. Filters in this section are applied to information read from the database prior to displaying on a page or editing screen. Okay. That looks like a longer list. Oops. Filter hooks list. So now I got both, right? Action hook list and filter hooks list. Filter hook list. That's what it should be. Edit bookmarks, favorites, WordPress, filter hook list. Great. And option B, get back there. One hour, 17 minutes. See, just writing data, video data to YouTube service gets me off. It really does. It's like I'm an important part of the internet community. And I'm just using database storage. And I'm not giving anything for it. It's like some people like a good bargain. I like a good, I don't know. Just like using these companies the way that they kind of market it. You know, they market it like, it's so great. You can do stuff for free. And I know how you try to get me. I know about, how you're going to try to get me to sign up for YouTube Red, and all that. So I feel like I'm taking advantage of the system, man. Yeah. That's just good. Yum. Wow. Kind of a Crips Pink. I don't even know what that is. From Argentina. Crips Pink is the cultivar of apple. It is one of several cultivars from which apples that meet quality standards can be sold under the trademark named Pink Lady. And the origin is Australia in 1973. Hybrid parentage, Lady Williams and Golden Delicious. Lady Williams. From Australia in 1935. This is fast. Apple breeds and varieties, man. There's a rabbit hole for you. Okay. So, where the fuck were we? Anyway, let's keep
on this page, you can see some of the main actions that WordPress runs and the order they run in. So you can see plugins loaded happens before after theme setup. And after theme setup happens before get header. A little ways down, we're going to see posts selection. This is where WordPress grabs the data out of the database about the specific post. We can't use most of the conditionals, such as, is it a page, is it a single post, until this point. So we have to wait until this point to use conditionals. Or rather, we have to wait until this point for those functions to work properly. Technically, you can run them, but you always get back false. The problem is that we can't unhook the sidebar because that happens earlier than post selection. The sidebar runs at WP registers sidebar widget. So we could write some really hacky code, but at this point, I decided it wasn't worth it. If it was only changing a few lines of PHP, I'd consider writing a function. But for how complex it is, it's better to use the template. And just be aware that if the parent theme updates, I'll have to copy over the new changes. With WordPress, you can do just about anything, but it often requires a little bit of digging. Sometimes one way of doing something takes 100 lines of PHP code, and sometimes it's one line in a template. So keep digging in and you'll get better and better at finding the most efficient way to do things. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to enqueue new style sheets and include new fonts. Enqueuing and dequeuing style sheets and scripts is a very common thing that you will often want to do when you create a child theme. In addition to adding new CSS rules, style sheets are also one way to add fonts from an external source. If you've been in the web design world for a while, you probably know about Google Fonts and other font websites. With Google Fonts, you can replace the fonts on your site, but in most cases, you have to do that by writing some code in your child theme. With WordPress, you will find some themes that have a bunch of different fonts available, and you can also find plugins that will try to replace existing fonts. But the best option for replacing fonts is to add a new font into your child theme directly. So that's what we're going to do. I have 2 fonts that I've picked from Google Fonts. You can find some fonts you like and then put them in a collection. I'll open this up, and I'm going to copy this link right here. I'll close this, go to my code editor, and I'm going to open up functions.php. And in functions.php, we're going to use WP enqueue style to add a new style sheet. So let me paste this line down here just for reference, since I'm going to need this long URL. And I'm going to copy this WP enqueue style. Now let me copy the link right here. And I'll place it right here. And we can get rid of the rest of this link. And I'm going to call this 2019 Child Theme Fonts. This is actually all you need to get WordPress to include the new font style sheet. And if we want, we can save this, go to the front end, refresh the page, and look at the source by going to View, Developer, and then Source. And we can see a link to Google Fonts up here and down here. So we know it's being included. Now let's go ahead and add these new fonts to our content. I'm going to right-click on this H1 because I want one of the fonts to affect this H1. Let me scroll down until I see fonts or font family. There we go, font family. So I'm going to copy this entire section right here. And I'm going to paste this into my style.css file. Let's scroll down. Add a new section for fonts. Now this is the old font family, so we just want to replace this line right here. I'll go back to Google Fonts. And I want to say font family Allegria Sans. There we go. And while we're at it, let's change the body copy as well. Let's minimize this. Here's the regular body copy. Let's scroll down until we see what font is being applied to it. There's the body tag and the font family. Just copy that and paste it down here. Let's close that curly bracket there and get rid of these extra styles. In this case, I'm going to go back to Google Fonts and copy font family Allegria and paste it in. Save the file, go back to the front end,
Reload.
and refresh. There we go. Both of these fonts are now different. If you're building on 2019, like I am, then you're done. But if your theme is already including custom fonts that you're no longer using, you should do one additional thing. You can use a function called WP_dequeueStyle. You just need the name of the file used when including the style. Let's go back to our code editor. I'll copy WP_dequeueStyle, go back to the code editor, and show you how to remove a family just in case you need to. We'll just type in WP_dequeueStyle. And we just have to type the name of the file used. So that's this name right here. So if another theme includes fonts, go ahead and put that exact name right there. And you'll automatically dequeue them. I'll go ahead and get rid of that since we don't need that for our theme. And we're done. By including a line of PHP and copying a couple lines of CSS, we have some shiny new fonts for our child theme. After this process, we have a highly customized and unique child theme. But there's one thing we haven't done. and it's one I forget almost every time I create a child theme.
Hope I never run for
Right
office.
now, if you go back to your site
This would be
and go to
embarrassing.
Appearance and then Themes, you'll see that all the other themes have a nice and clean preview. But our child theme has nothing. And when you look at the theme details, you'll see the white and gray checker screen. That's because right now, our theme doesn't have a proper screenshot. Let's go to our code editor. We'll take a look at 2019. And in this folder, you will see screenshot.png. That's what we want to create for our theme. So we'll close this and close screen.
So we just need a screenshot.png file, huh? Okay. So what do we got? Screen. Let's take a screenshot. Boom. Go to the desktop. Find that. Yep. Let's call it screenshot. And let's open that up. And let's export it as PNG. Put it on the desktop too. And yep. Docs, content, themes, 2019 child. That's where it's going. Hey, heard about the good news. Y'all sleeping on me now. Had a good snooze. Wake up, wake up. We about to get the paper. Pablo had a rollie and a rock wallet.
Shots. And let's go to the front end of our site. And I'm going to use the Max default screenshot tool with Command-Shift-4. And I'm going to grab a mostly square shape. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Command-Shift-4, mostly square, and I'll save that. I'll go to my desktop. There's the screenshots. I'll rename this to screenshot.png. And now, in my code editor, I'll right-click and say Show in File Manager.
Oh.
And let's copy screenshot.png into our child theme.
Right.
Go back to our browser. Go back to Manage Themes. Refresh the page. And there's our screenshot. If you want to mimic the exact dimensions, you can reference this documentation on WordPress.org. But since it's just you and your client viewing this, it doesn't have to be pixel perfect. A rough square shape will be good enough. This might seem like extra work, but for 3 minutes of your time, anytime you have to switch themes, even when you're just testing, it can be really nice to visually see your child theme.
Oh, yeah.
So I like to recommend this.
It's a nice little tip.
We've been creating this theme in our local environment. That means that anyone who is visiting our site isn't seeing our new child theme. We need to upload all of our files to our live site. When you're moving a child theme, there are usually dozens, if not hundreds of files. So I recommend an FTP program, or zipping up your child theme and then uploading through the WordPress admin. So I can go to Themes, Add New, and then Upload from my live site. Once all the files are uploaded, you can activate your child theme and you'll be done. However, if you made any content changes, like changing menus, your site title, or you changed a logo, you'll have to do a bit more work. You still start by uploading all of your files. Then, under Appearance Menus, you'll click Live Preview on your theme. Click Live Preview, and this will open the Customizer.
Oh, bad.
From here, we can take our time customizing all of our settings. The Customizer is a great tool because it saves all of these changes and only displays them to us until we press Activate and Publish. This will work for most child themes, but in some cases, site owners will make a child theme and write a ton of new content at the same time, and they want all these changes to go live at the same point. In that case, I recommend you export your content from your local site under Tools. Let's exit the customizer, go to Tools, and Export. You can export all of your content or just select bits of content, then upload and customize the child theme, activate it, and quickly import your content under Tools on your live site. For many site owners, you can take this simple approach and just switch themes. But the bigger the client, the more likely they're going to want a smooth and flawless transition. If you have a client who needs the transition to be perfect and executed at the same instant, you can look into plugins and services designed for launching sites. But for most clients, the site will only be ready before the new content is uploaded. Building a child theme is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to customizing your WordPress site. From here, you can dig in and do so many things. You can dig even deeper into WordPress themes and create your own themes from scratch. If that's interesting to you, check out WordPress building themes from scratch using underscores. You can also focus on back-end development and learn all about custom functionality, which you can add through your theme or custom plugins, in which case I recommend WordPress plugin development. There's also a bunch of courses just on using WordPress in general, including setting up contact forms, optimizing your site for search engines, aka SEO, and building an online store with WooCommerce. No matter which way you go, I encourage you to be curious. We looked at only maybe 2% of the commonly used WordPress functions. When you think a function for something should exist, it likely does. Feel free to explore WordPress.org to try to find it. You can also follow what I write about on my personal blog, where I talk about WordPress and e-commerce all the time. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you around the WordPress world.
Okay. I'm Patrick Rolland. I'll follow you. So where was developing in the browser? Show me that. Yay, we did it.
Over the past couple...
We finished the course. Good for us. That was WordPress building child themes. I think literally no one joined me. It's fine. I'm not upset. I'm just a little. I'm just gonna tear up. WordPress accessibility. Oh, of course it came out again last month, huh? Accessibility concept, understanding, accessibility core. I really don't want to do this one. Ugh. And now I'm on camera admitting that I really don't want to do the accessibility training. I mean, I guess it's important, right? I guess it's important so that everyone can see the web. But I feel like even if I was disabled, I would understand that there's extra consideration involved accommodating someone like me if I was that kind of person. So that it is an intermediate skill thing. Should I do it? Should I do it now? It's already 4:42. Well, I still got a whole Pop-Tart here. So I guess I can. Maybe I'll do an all-one version.
The attributes property is read-only, just like class lists, and attributes have the additional complication of often appearing in attribute value pairs. As an example, the href attribute in links always has a URL value. While we can access the attributes of an element using the attributes property, we need methods to actually work with them so we can assign attribute names and attribute values separately. Here we have 4 methods to choose from.
You know, I committed to this learning path. I'm going to stick to it. I'm going back, going to accessibility. We're going to dive into accessibility right now.
Your website is a tool to share your products and passions with the world. Whether it's a personal project or a global business, your information is important, and everybody should have the opportunity to experience it. Creating a website that's accessible to users with disabilities is an important step towards reaching that greater audience. In this course, I'll introduce you to building accessible websites using WordPress. We'll explore how WordPress themes, plugins, and core software interact to shape the user experience, and talk about how you can write great content that's understandable to everybody. You will gain experience testing the accessibility of websites, as well as an understanding of the tools available to help you construct your own accessible WordPress site. I'm Joe Dawson, and I've been a leader in WordPress accessibility for many years, stemming from my passion to create an equitable user experience for all, and I'm excited to share that passion with you. This course approaches accessibility on the web
Look how much she gets
through
paid
the
to do
lens
that.
of WordPress. However, the concepts we discuss
Hopefully a lot.
apply to any website. Whether you're an experienced WordPress developer or have never used WordPress before, you will learn the fundamentals of making websites usable by people with disabilities.
All right.
You'll be aided in the WordPress focus of the course by a familiarity with WordPress, including installing themes and plugins. But this experience is not required to gain valuable knowledge about accessibility. Some knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript will be useful to you, as the building blocks of accessible websites are found in these technologies. The fundamentals of accessibility are about the user experience, how visitors to your website see and experience your content. This knowledge is applicable on any platform. To get started, we'll need to begin to explore the fundamental concepts of web accessibility. The World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C, has established a body of guidelines for assessing web accessibility called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. These guidelines describe a set of detailed criteria you can use to test your website content for accessibility. WCAG 2.1, the latest update to the accessibility standards, is organized around 4 key principles of accessibility. Web content must follow all of these 4 principles. It must be perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust.
4.
Perceivable content.
Perceivable.
That can be perceived equally.
Content can be perceived equally using more than one sense.
Images can be described with text.
Images can be described with text.
Provided with audio descriptions and captions.
Videos.
Because plain text can be interpreted using text-to-audio software, written text is the foundation element of perceivable content.
So is this video perceivable?
If every
perceptible
can be used by any hardware,
you can see it, but can you smell it?
Any link,
operable
button, or input field
websites can be used regardless of
the keyboard,
device.
Using a touch screen such as a mobile phone or tablet, or with the more limited input available in a switch system. Understandable content is content and navigation that, plainly, your visitor can understand. This need can involve several distinct parts: defining the language of the content, expanding abbreviations and defining unusual words, consistency and predictability in navigation, and the clarity of
this
input.
Is probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever done in my entire life.
A website is robust.
This is what freelancing is all about.
And future browsers.
This is how you start a business.
Technologies. One aspect of this requires that the code used conforms to defined standards. When writing according to standards, any device that is aware of that standard can display the content. All of these principles work together to help you create pages that allow any user a fair chance at success on your website.
A fair chance at success.
When your website isn't
these are words.
You're denying
I'll tell you that.
To your information and services to a large group of users. But an accessible website isn't just an ethics question. Although creating an accessible website is unquestionably the right thing to do, it's also a legal obligation in many jurisdictions, including most of Europe and the United States. The European Union established a directive in 2016 on the accessibility of websites that stipulates that all public sector websites must conform to the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, version 2.0 at level AA by September 23rd, 2020. If you conduct business within the EU, You will need to be familiar with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. In the
That's not
province
what
of
public sector
Ontario,
means, dude.
Canada, the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act of 2005, or AODA, requires conformance to WCAG version 2.0 at level AA as well, with full compliance expected across all public and private sector websites by 2021. The United States also requires that websites be accessible to people with disabilities. In the US, that requirement is found in the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990.
Preach.
The ADA does not specify a particular standard to conform to, and no regulations have yet been written to elaborate this. However, the ADA broadly covers all places of public accommodation. This law has been repeatedly demonstrated to apply to websites. Lacking any regulations, your best choice is to work towards conformance with the WCAG version 2.0 at level AA. There are many advantages to having an accessible website for your business. Implementing accessibility can set your business apart from others in the same industry. People with disabilities represent a worldwide market of over 1 billion people with a spending power of greater than $6 trillion.
That's a good
By
argument.
implementing best practices for website
Manage
accessibility,
your business.
you can increase your potential market reach, improve usability and interaction for all website visitors, and minimize your exposure to legal risk. While not every person who depends on a website being accessible makes use of special software or hardware, every accessible web experience is intermediated by some kind of assistive technology. In a broad sense, assistive technology is any technological innovation that aids a user in getting information from a computer. Every user depends on technology to interact with computers. Most people make use of the combination of keyboard, mouse, and monitor. Keyboards, computer mice, and monitors are not in themselves assistive technology in the most traditional sense. However, they illustrate an important concept in website
I'm
accessibility.
fine with
That
accessibility. This
everything
guy's
on
just
the web
boring.
depends on the use of hardware and software.
It's
to
boring
interact
to
with it.
listen to.
Classic assistive technology
It doesn't
includes
make me
devices
feel
designed for
good
many different purposes.
about my
Some
choices.
assistive technology is dedicated to providing alternate methods of input. These include alternative format keyboards,
But I'm here.
alternative types of pointer devices,
I'm going to keep listening.
and switch input systems.
Maybe I'll learn something. And
These are
maybe
all
someday
used with the web,
that will be
but in
relevant.
most cases
So,
are not major considerations when creating
Don't go
websites.
anywhere.
This is
Imaginary
because the
people.
specific method of
Keep
input
learning with me
usually
about
doesn't impact the
accessibility.
experience. The exception is when a website is created in a manner
I'll throw
that requires and can only
A link in the
handle
chat
specific
to what I'm
types of
watching right
input.
now.
If a site can only accept mouse or pointer input on any control, then a user who can only use a keyboard will not be successful on that site. Most of the assistive technology we'll address in this course has to do with methods of handling website output. People with visual impairments make use of software tools, including screen readers, which provide oral interpretations of the content of a website, or Zoom interfaces, which enlarge the content on the screen for low vision. They may also use computer modes built into their operating systems for switching the interface to a high contrast mode. People who are deaf or hard of hearing need text equivalents of audio materials. Any audio
I need a
file
beanbag.
with text or video with text needs to be transcribed or captioned. People with mobility impairments may have problems using a mouse for pointing actions. If they have conditions that affect fine motor control, such as Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis. Mobility impairments can also result in difficulty using a keyboard for users who are paraplegic or have no arms, missing fingers, or related types of impairments. Cognitive impairments can also be compensated for on the web. Cognitive impairments can include dyslexia and related conditions like dyscalculia and dysmapia, autism,
Dysmapia.
and attention
What the hell is
deficit/hyperactive disorder. These can be
That's
the
me.
most difficult issues to address, as the experiences of each individual can be radically different. While people with cognitive impairments may not use assistive technology, they will benefit significantly from design decisions that support their needs. In many cases, these choices will also have benefits for all your users. In building a website, Most accessibility issues are a failure to compensate for one or more of these situations. Screen readers depend on all information being present in the text-based information received by the browser. Keyboard users require all links, controls, and inputs to be available via the keyboard. This particular combination is key to a significant percentage of accessibility issues. Screen reader users are also dependent on keyboard navigation. These two groups of errors account for a vast percentage of problems on the web. For all of these users, assistive technology is a means to an end. With a well-built website, assistive technology provides a path for effective communication between a website and a user. Although WordPress offers a lot in the way of accessibility, you cannot simply install WordPress, set up a site with any theme, and expect it to be accessible. This is because WordPress isn't a monolithic system. Any website built with WordPress is a collection of many different pieces assembled together. The core of WordPress generates a small part of the code, but much more of your website will come from your theme, plugins, and your choices when adding content. Let's use the analogy that a WordPress website is like a house. In this house, WordPress has created the framing and foundation. You've got the bones of a home, but with WordPress alone, you don't yet have a house, at least not one that is at all usable. When you add a theme, it will set up siding and roofing materials. It'll create doors, points where you can access your house. It'll create windows and add all the ornamental elements that make your house look great in the street. Your content is what you put in each room, making sure that each room in your house serves a well-defined purpose and has each piece of furniture you need. Plugins are the plumbing and mechanicals of your house.
Plugins are the plumbing.
Website that makes sure
Took the words out of my mouth.
The necessary functions for your website.
Plugins.
Are what transform your
Plugins are plumbing.
Home business.
Plugins
retail
are
store,
plumbing.
Or apartment building.
I can see it.
With the right
Plugins
choice of plugins, the purpose of your new building
plumbing.
takes shape. Within this analogy,
Plugins
we can
are
start to
plumbing.
illustrate how accessibility can go
Plugins
wrong
are
in
plumbing.
WordPress.
Plugins
No
are
matter
plumbing.
how solid the underlying
Plugins are
framing
plumbing.
and foundation may be,
Plugins are
your
plumbing.
theme, plugins, and
Plugins are
content can cover this over in
Plugins are
ways that create accessibility.
Plugins are plumbing.
The
Plugins
theme
are plumbing.
explicitly provides a set of colors and fonts. These fonts may be difficult to read. The colors chosen might create contrast problems that people who are colorblind have difficulty seeing.
True.
While WordPress provides accessible search and comment forms, these can be replaced by the theme, so they may not be correctly labeled and can't be identified using a screen reader. The HTML of the navigation menu comes from WordPress, but once it's styled by the theme using CSS and JavaScript, it may not be navigable using the keyboard. Plugins can add a whole new interaction experience to your website, and WordPress has no control over what that experience might be like. Anytime you install a plugin, you're either changing part of how WordPress normally creates output, or you're doing something totally new. Whatever that plugin does, you need to take responsibility for verifying whether or not it is accessible. Your content is a mixture of output created by WordPress, created by plugins, and your own creative decisions. As you will see through this course, the output created in WordPress, while fully capable of being accessible, needs to be considered with care. A WordPress website can absolutely be accessible, but you will need to become familiar with finding accessible resources, investigating the accessibility of your site, and learn the best and worst of what WordPress has to offer. The core WordPress software, without a theme or plugins, only generates a fraction of your site. What impact does WordPress have directly on your site's accessibility? There are only a handful of areas where WordPress directly provides output to your site, and many of those are frequently overwritten by themes. However, they are not overwritten by all themes, so they're definitely worth considering. The items generated directly by WordPress include navigation menus, search forms, comment forms, all of the core widgets like archive lists, category dropdowns, or the
There's like
calendar
a
of your
delay.
blog posts, the image tags in your content, image galleries, and with the new block editor, all of the HTML it generates. With the release of the block editor in WordPress 5.0, the amount of HTML that WordPress can directly control has increased. Each block generates specific HTML, and that becomes a part of your website content.
I feel like I'm in the Truman
The editor
Show.
has always created HTML
God.
on your behalf, of course, but there are many new patterns coming through the block editor. Much of this content, as produced by WordPress core, is free of accessibility problems. However, that's because WordPress is almost always producing only the HTML for the output. In general, if HTML output is free of errors and uses semantically appropriate elements, it will be accessible as long as the text content you provide is complete. When you start to layer in CSS and JavaScript, you can create accessibility problems. That's not
This
to
guy's
say that
literally the
HTML is always
worst.
accessible. CSS and JavaScript can easily create new accessibility
He
problems.
is the
even
wettest
if
of
the
wet
HTML
blankets.
is fine. In the navigation
So
menu alone,
wet.
CSS can create
He
color
is a
contrast
wet
problems
blanket.
and keyboard accessibility
Ah!
problems. JavaScript can cause
Wet
more
blanket.
keyboard navigation problems or
Wet blanket.
manipulate the HTML in ways that break
Wet
accessibility.
blanket. Wet blanket.
The
Wet,
most
wet, wet,
common
wet,
problem
wet
for
blanket.
search and comment forms is that themes remove their labels, either by hiding them using the CSS display attribute none, a method that conceals them from all users, or by replacing the forms with their own label-free input fields. The widgets in WordPress are also a place where some accessibility problems lie in WordPress. Making core changes to any HTML produced directly by WordPress is difficult. These changes require careful planning because they impact how millions of websites are displayed. For an example, the category archive widget drop-down option breaks a major rule of user interface design. Don't change context on a change of focus event. This form automatically sends you to the new location when you change the value. When you navigate a select input field using a keyboard, the way you find out what options are available is by selecting them, giving them focus. As a result, you can't use this tool with a keyboard. As soon as you start to explore it, you're off on a new adventure. Other widgets, like the calendar, are mostly lacking in semantic organization. They aren't explicitly inaccessible. The information is present, but it is difficult for assistive technology to extract useful information from within them. The new HTML blocks have been carefully designed to try and avoid errors in output, but there are still some issues to be aware of when creating new content, either in the block editor or using the classic editor. I'll discuss this in more detail later in the course. Your choice of theme can make or break the
Going
accessibility
crazy.
of your WordPress website.
I'm
Almost
just going
every piece
crazy
of
right now.
accessibility that
I'm
WordPress
just
core
going crazy
provides
right now.
can be
I'm
broken by your theme. So your
going
choices in
crazy.
selecting or in developing a
I'm
theme
just
are
going crazy
crucial
right
in
now.
creating an
I'm just
accessible
going
WordPress
crazy
website.
right now.
To aid you in this, the WordPress accessibility team has worked with the WordPress theme review team to write a set of guidelines for creating accessibility-ready WordPress themes. No WordPress theme can guarantee an accessible website. Even within a well-designed theme, you are able to make choices in theme settings, in content creation, or in plugin selection that will interfere with the native accessibility of the theme. This is why themes are labeled as accessibility ready. These themes are expected to not create accessibility problems, but they don't guarantee your end product. Any theme tagged with accessibility ready in the WordPress.org theme repository has been tested against a set of 12 accessibility criteria that are fully in the control of the theme. Other theme repositories, such as Theme Forest, also provide a selection of themes tagged as accessibility ready, but I'm not aware of any published definition of how those services test or standardize the requirements for this. An important part of what the WordPress Accessibility Ready theme guidelines provide is instructions on how to test a theme for accessibility. With this information, you can check for yourself whether the theme you want to use meets accessibility requirements. These requirements cover many factors. They include keyboard navigation, whether every item in the theme can be reached from the keyboard with a visible focus indicator. Controls, whether all theme features that behave like buttons or reform. Skip links. Whether a means to pass over the navigation is available for users. Forms. Checking whether these native WordPress forms are either available or if they've been replaced, that the replacements are accessible. Headings. Verifies that the use of headings within the theme has a hierarchy that's valid, that the headings are actually headings. ARIA landmark rule. Checking that all parts of the page have been marked within a landmark region to provide alternate navigation access to screen readers. Content links. Ensuring that links within bodies of content are always underlined for better usability. Repetitive link text. Verify that the same link text is not used repeatedly on a page to link to different documents. Color contrast. Review the default color contrast provided by the theme to make sure that all color combinations are accessible. It reviews the images used by the theme, verifies that all graphic content controlled by the theme has alternative text available. If the theme incorporates video, audio, or carousels, this test will also review media to make sure that this media does not autoplay or change without user action. Finally, it'll review the CSS screen reader text class that's declared by the theme to hide text from sighted users, but make it accessible to screen readers. It has to ensure that this class is declared correctly. And then disallowed attributes. It needs to make sure that positive tab index values, access key, and target attributes that spawn new tabs or windows are not present in the theme. Each of these criteria is tested to benefit various groups of users with disabilities. With all of these criteria followed, your theme should provide a great foundation for an accessible website. Each individual test criteria will be talked about in more detail as we move through the course. There are many standard features of a website that WordPress doesn't provide natively. Contact forms, event calendars, and e-commerce features are possibly among the most high-demand services. You will install most of these features in your website using plugins. Plugins are powerful. They leverage an intricate network of hooks within WordPress core to allow them to manipulate the output of your website. Most plugins add wholly new features to your site. However, some plugins may change existing features. They may replace or modify your site's navigation, alter the content of your posts, add image galleries, offer new search tools, or do just about anything else you can imagine. What does this mean for accessibility? Largely, it means that you need to be very conscious of what plugins are changing in your site. Looking at a specific type of accessibility, keyboard navigation, your tests of keyboard navigation on your theme may have no impact at all on the accessibility of the features a plugin has added to your site. When we're talking about the ability to operate the tool from the keyboard, this behavior is 100% dependent on the code in the plugin. Your theme implemented keyboard accessibility may have limited impact on plugins. If we're talking about the visual focus aspect of accessibility, whether or not a visitor can see on your site where their keyboard is currently focused, that can be relevant to a plugin, although it's not guaranteed. The difference is due to what is inherited within a website and what is not. The HTML has no inheritance. What your plugin generates has no fundamental relationship to your theme. The CSS, however, passes its characteristics to everything in the site. So CSS that defines a strong focus state in your theme also applies to plugin output. But the plugin can also add its own CSS, which could overwrite the focus accessibility from the theme. You're left with an inability to know in advance how a plugin will impact the accessibility of your site. The WordPress plugin repository doesn't have any equivalent to the theme repository's accessibility ready to go, and provides no guidance in identifying accessible services. Because of this, learning how to test features for accessibility is a critical part of building an accessible website for WordPress. We'll cover accessibility testing extensively later on in this course. The root of accessibility getting access to your content. As the content creator, what parts of the accessibility of your site are you in direct control of? If you're writing the content, then you're in direct control of the accessibility of that content. Your exact degree of control, however, depends enormously on the specific tools you're using to make content. WordPress provides many different ways to create content. You can write it in the classic editor plugin with the block editor added in version 5.0, or you can create the content using a wide variety of site builder plugins. While this course is primarily focused on the usage of the native WordPress editors, we will address third-party site building tools as well. New posts and pages aren't the only places you can add content to WordPress. There are widgets designed for adding text and HTML as well as media tools. All of these come into play when creating accessible content. Your accessible content has the same requirements no matter what tool you use to create it. There are many topics to consider in the accessibility of content. You have to consider text, directions given, colors referenced, the linked text itself, the clarity and the style of the text. Look at the structure, the lists, the headings, and the relationships between objects on the page. The language and pronunciation also matter. The images used and their alternative texts. If you're using media, having captions and transcripts for those media resources. Most of these elements are choices you can make when writing or preparing content in WordPress, although the mechanisms will vary depending on which authoring content you're using. The greatest degree of flexibility comes with either editing in its plain text HTML editing mode. However, that also comes with the greatest burden of responsibility. WordPress isn't providing any help. To focus on what WordPress contributes to the process, we'll address the tools in each editor that affect the accessibility of your output. Visual editing. Any content creation process that creates a visual representation of what you are doing, rather than showing you the code directly, means that the editor is creating code on your behalf to create your desired appearance. Remember that the appearance of your page is only the experience that sighted users will have. How do screen readers and other assistive technology perceive your layout? If you include all the necessary alternative text and structure your code effectively, that experience should be essentially equivalent. What makes your content accessible is shared between the code that lies behind the content and the decisions you make in writing the text. WordPress gives you a great deal of control over your content, but what is the impact of the code created behind it? We'll talk in detail about how to recognize and create accessible content later in the course. You'll learn ways to recognize the importance of using code that reinforces the content display, whether that content is a design element, user interface, or written text. Design is not the same thing as art. What you create needs to communicate information. Design is the process of creating a user experience. And there are many aspects to design that aren't just visual. Whether your visual design process starts with a mood board, a color palette, an image, or a call to action, you should be thinking about the user experience for all your users. While there are parts of what makes a site accessible that can't be addressed during design, many key elements are essential parts of the design process, including labels, headings, focus and hover states, and, of course, color contrast. Even if you're examining a theme to consider using it, not building one, you should be investigating these elements as much as you can, even if all you have for a reference is a screenshot. Many color contrast questions can be answered in just a screenshot. Any design that includes interaction, buttons, links, or form fields, needs to address all of the possible states of that element. What does it look like under passive conditions? What does it look like when receiving keyboard focus? Does it look different under the mouse cursor? Different interaction states need to be visually distinct. Color contrast is a fundamental design element for accessibility. If color contrast is too low, the site is posing barriers to users on mobile devices in bright sunlight, users with various vision impairments, including color blindness, or all sorts of other contrast-related impairments. color contrast is too high, it can create eye strain or exaggerate the sensitivity dyslexic users have to extreme brightness. High contrast is generally preferred, but the extremes are rarely beneficial. 7 to 12% of men have some form of color vision deficiency, though color vision deficiencies are rare in women. Low vision conditions accelerate with age. The older the world population gets, the higher a percentage will have some kind of low vision condition, from the routine need for reading glasses and mild magnification to serious complications in macular degeneration, retinitis pigmentosa, or diabetic retinopathy. Color contrast is measured in terms of the ratio of luminosity between two colors. Luminosity is a measurement that describes how bright or dark a hue is and discards most of the hue information in favor of its degree of intensity. This algorithm helps ensure that colors that are very different, assuming standard color vision, red and green, for example, are recognized as very similar when the colors aren't distinct. The maximum value is black and white, with a ratio of 21 to 1. The minimum value is any two identical colors at 1 to 1. WCAG 2.0 requires a minimum ratio of 3.0 to 1 for large text, which is any text over a 24 pixel equivalent or 19 pixels and bold, and 4.5 to 1 for anything smaller than that. Color contrast tools can help you know the ratio between two colors. All the contrast scenarios I've discussed so far involve only two colors, a foreground and a background. When you add in transparency or background images, measurement gets more complicated. The essentials are still true, however. Over a background image, the text should meet contrast guidelines over the majority of the image. If text or backgrounds are partially transparent, most testing tools won't pick these up correctly, only recognizing the declared colors without transparency. Many WordPress themes have options to select colors to shift your site's color palette. Whenever you make a change like this, you need to examine the outcome. These palettes are usually fairly unsophisticated. They don't expose a lot of details about the impact any given change will have. A great color palette tool will show you all of the color combinations resulting from the change. Most WordPress themes give you either a set of changes that tweak specific colors with little clarity about where those changes will apply, or a named theme palette with even fewer clues. If you can choose colors for your site, that places a layer of responsibility on you during configuration. An understanding of color contrast will help. At the center of most WordPress themes is a menu system, constructed as a set of nested lists by using the function wp_nav_menu. This is a great way to structurally organize site navigation. It gives a clear hierarchy and a logical pattern to use to generate useful tools like drop-down navigation lists. With no styles or scripting, it's as straightforward as you can get. A list of links with some added semantics to help understand the structure. In most cases, that's what a good navigation menu looks like when navigated using a screen reader. All of the visual gimmicks you see, animated menus, color changes, or even separators between links, should be just that, visual. This provides a good experience for a simple navigation menu in a screen reader. However, there are a number of ways in which this menu can be broken from an accessibility standpoint for many groups of users: screen reader users, keyboard-dependent users, and people with other types of dexterity problems. You name it, there's probably a way to make navigation a problem. The number one most common issue, based on my years of accessibility testing, is a lack of support for keyboard navigation on drop-down menus. This can take two primary forms. Either the submenus are completely invisible to the keyboard and are completely unfindable by any keyboard user, or the submenus are hidden visually and do not become visible on focus. In the latter case, a screen reader user won't even notice there's a problem. But somebody who is sighted but dependent on keyboard navigation will experience significant challenges. Much of this problem stems from a failure to consider the focus state of a link in the menu. and only consider the hover state. When a user navigates by the keyboard, their navigation applies focus to each element as they reach it. If a set of rules are only defined for hover states and not for focus states, then people using the keyboard are left out. When it comes to menus, there are some interesting additional side effects that need consideration. First is the fact that hover states apply to multiple elements. If a hover state is defined for a list item, and your mouse is over a link that is inside the list item, then that hover state will be triggered. But focus is different. As the name implies, a focus state is only relevant to the element you are on, and not its parents or descendants. You can't use CSS to affect a focus element's neighbor, like a nested list. When you construct accessible navigation with submenus, you can't just copy over your hover styles to focus. You need to add scripting with JavaScript so that your hover styles are applied when focus is present on the link. There are many good ways of creating accessible navigation menus, and each should be considered for different purposes. One of the most common, where the entire menu is navigated sequentially as nested lists, is best used for moderate-sized menus. While this is serviceable, it does require keyboard navigation to individually tab through every item in the list. For large menus, you're better off considering a menu that requires an action to open the submenu. Commonly, this is done by inserting a button within each top-level navigation link that must be used to expand the menu. Although sometimes the entire top-level item acts as a button. While this makes navigating the top-level navigation slightly longer, it can save a user significant effort if they need an item from the last submenu. A menu type referred to as a mega menu is a subtype of these large menus. In a mega menu, you expect to have dozens of links, at the least, in every submenu. As such, it should follow all the same rules that any other menu does, except that the resulting menu might also have additional semantics, such as headings used to group subsections of the menu. A mega menu is likely to benefit from additional keyboard navigation. Within a mega menu, you may want to use arrow keys to move around, escape to exit, and home or end keys to find the first or last items, such as in the Adobe Accessible Mega Menu example, which has all of these features. Every menu is slightly different, so there's no single best accessible navigation menu. The size and complexity of your site should lead your decision-making on navigation implementations. Images are always a shared responsibility between the theme developer and the content author in WordPress. Images cover a range of distinct implementations: icon fonts, SVG, background images, and actual image elements. All of these images need some form of alternative text, either to ensure that an image will be ignored, or to communicate clearly why this image is present on the page. Images generally fall into one of three categories: decorative, content, or functional. When you're using an image, you should consider why this image is present. What does the image do for the site? An image can be decorative if it doesn't contain any text, is not used as the sole content of a link or a button, and doesn't contribute anything to the context of surrounding text. There's nothing inaccessible about an ornamental image. An image to make your site prettier is entirely reasonable. However, that ornamentation may not translate well non-visually. As a result, if you conclude that an image is decorative, it should be marked up so that a screen reader will ignore it. Background images are always ignored by screen readers. As a result, they should never be used for content or function. But images that come from image elements, SVG, or icon fonts need text alternatives. Any image element with an empty alt attribute will be skipped by screen readers. Any other alt attribute requires
To be or not to
including
be?
or missing alt attribute.
That
When the attribute is empty,
is the
that
question.
emptiness explicitly states that the alternative for this image is silence. If the alt attribute is missing, that tells a screen reader that there is no defined alternative for the image, and the screen reader has no way to know whether this is important or not. so the image may need to be read out in some way. If an image is unknown, the decision for what to announce is up to the screen reader and browser to choose. And that's essentially guesswork. The result may be silence, an image file name, the word graphic, or some other possibly irrelevant value. So what about icon fonts and SVG? Icon fonts are graphics assigned in the private use area of Unicode. They are text characters, but they aren't pronounceable. There's no defined text equivalent of these characters. As a result, any use of an icon font will result in an unpronounceable text character with an enormous variety of possible reading attempts. To free the screen reader from dealing with these characters, add aria hidden equals true to any element making use of an ornamental icon font. This will hide the element from screen readers in a similar way to empty alt text. SVG icons can be hidden in the same way. An aria hidden attribute on the SVG markup will conceal it from screen readers. You should only hide your image, however, when it is ornamental. If the image is functional or content, then it needs alternative text that provides equivalent information to what a sighted user will see. In some cases, this is extremely clear. An image with text on it needs alternative text that matches that text. A button image with submit on it needs alternative text that says submit. For icon fonts, you can use a screen reader hidden text class that hides the alternative text from sighted users, while also using aria hidden to hide the icon itself from screen readers. For a simple SVG icon, you can reference the SVG file from an image source attribute with an alt attribute, but this limits your ability to manipulate the icon in CSS. But for an SVG that needs animation or has navigable component parts, you need more information than an alt attribute can provide. To allow CSS manipulation, use an SVG.
Boom!
Because of limitations in the SVG massive
Apple.
browser, you'll also need
We
to
got
image.
apples.
When the SVG is the sole content of the
More
container,
apples.
you can also use the button or link element itself for labeling by using aria label to provide that label, instead of using the image element itself. In WordPress, if you are acting as a theme or website developer, you are using all these methods for menu or search toggles,
Quiet.
ornamental icons added to site metadata or announcements, and to design the usage of featured images. It is your responsibility to ensure they are accessible. When you're in the role of a content creator in WordPress, you'll mostly have to add images to posts and pages within your site's editor. Later in the course, I'll talk about how to take advantage of features in the WordPress editor to help you with alternative text for images. The power of cascading style sheets allows web developers to separate the content and structure of their websites from the instructions that shape it visually. Just disabling the CSS on any website gives you a clear illustration of how that website is structured. Using CSS and separating visual appearance from meaningful structure should provide a great experience for users who are visually impaired, because developers are able to create visually stunning works with a structure that imparts all the information any user needs. That's the theory, anyway. In reality, CSS allows developers to create a visual design that gives the effect they're looking for, regardless of the structure of the code behind it. And while that can sometimes lead to a wonderful experience, it can also result in a div soup, where every part of the site is built using an HTML div or span element, imparting no meaning at all. It is entirely possible to build a website using only div and span elements, constructing the design from CSS and interaction via JavaScript. But a site built this way is devoid of meaning on a structural level. Semantics is the study of meanings. In the context of HTML, we're talking about the semantic meaning of each HTML element used to mark up your page. HTML is loaded with semantic value, and all of this plays into providing a good experience for users of assistive technology. For a sighted user, much of the structure of a page is understood visually. You can see a header region, recognize a navigation menu, and identify a heading on the page. You understand this because there's a visual demarcation. an image or color background, a colored line, a larger font. The non-visual experience doesn't have any of this information. So recognizing a portion of the page depends on the right choice of HTML element. Almost every HTML element conveys some kind of meaning. The exceptions are div and span. Some elements are intended for structuring the page as a whole. The HTML5 sectioning elements define landmark regions: header, footer, aside, main, nav, and section. WordPress theme developers can use these elements to define the large-scale structures of the page and provide screen reader users with tools to identify and navigate between each defined landmark on the page. The 6 heading elements, H1 through H6, are used to give structure to the content as well. Headings work similarly to an outline. H1 should define the principal topic of the page and be the only first-level heading on any page. When an H2 is encountered, that represents a major section of content on the page. Each level further down should then lead a section of content relevant to the text of the heading above it. When you're writing content, you should be making use of headings within the content that are complementary to the choices made by the developer of your theme. And that means being aware of how your site is structured. There are some great tools for quickly identifying the heading structure of your site. One such tool is the Headings Map add-on for Chrome. It illustrates how the headings are laid out on the page so that you can see which headings are missing and which headings are prioritized. Most of your page architecture is dependent on how you use sectioning elements and headings. When those elements are in use, you're providing an effective overview for users of assistive technology so that all of your users have an equal understanding of the organization of the page. In writing content, you will also make use of a much wider range of semantically useful elements, such as tables, lists, and text organizing tools. I'll talk about these important elements later in the course.
Okay then, I think I'm going to end this video while I'm behind. Go take a walk, clear my head. Yeah, that was a lot of content to get through. It's been almost 2.5 hours. I'm going to stop the recording, see if it's saved, and go back and cry when I watch how awful this actually was. So anyway, for anyone that actually ever watches this, I apologize. And I'll probably make another video like this very soon, and it will probably be at least a little more entertaining. Really, this was just an experiment. I mean, I'm giving myself a lot of crap, but the fact that I did it is great, actually. And the fact that it went as long as it did, and it's probably going to properly encode and be available, and my computer was able to stay on for this amount of time, and anyway, looks like everything works as well as I wanted it to, so I'm actually fairly happy with that. So in case you don't know me, my name is Aaron Shine, and thanks for watching.